Thank you. Welcome to sunny Calexico. It's great to be here and with all of you. Muchísimas gracias a los que nos acompañan de las diferentes organizaciones de gobierno, en particular nuestros amigos y compañeros del lado de México, el alcalde y supervisor de condado y obviamente también nuestro representante del Senado y su representación, el señor Hueso, y el representante del congresista Vargas. I'll say a few words in English and then we'll say a few words in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking media. I'm here today to introduce a series of bills that will enhance the overall quality of life for this border city here in Calexico and create greater opportunities for funding sources to address a series of issues that are affecting not only the economic vitality opportunities in this region, but more importantly, the public health and well-being of the people who live here in the border. I will share with you, it is 3 legislative bills that we've introduced this week. AB 965 deals specifically with the New River and making sure that there is better coordination and alignment within public state agencies to ensure that funding opportunities become viable for this community. So what we want to do is ensure that we can ultimately implement and build out the New River Parkway plan that was established several years ago under the leadership of the New River Committee and its board members. We want to make sure that those funds become available, and this legislation makes this region far more eligible than it currently stands, and ultimately not only addressing the water quality issues, but at the same time creating economic development opportunities in and around the New River region. Our second bill is related to air quality. That is 1059. And the goal of this bill is to ensure that the Air Resources Board recognizes that there is a gap as it relates to quantifying the air quality impacts affiliated with these border regions. I don't need to tell you that the border wait times are a huge problem, not only for the economy of Imperial County, as for Mexico, but the public health implications that occur while commercial and passenger vehicles wait hours in line to get to the United States. Those implications have serious impacts on the health and well-being of our children, our elderly, and all of our families who live here in the border region. This bill will ensure that we are able to increase the level of air monitors that currently do not exist in Calexico and give us the opportunity to quantify the air quality conditions and ultimately make a strong argument to get our hands on resources to mitigate those impacts and at the same time invest back into our community. The third and final bill that I wanted to introduce is AB 1071. AB 1071 will ensure that nonprofit organizations like the New River Committee, organizations that deal with environmental justice issues such as Comite Civico del Valle, are positioned and eligible to receive funding that comes from what is referred to at the state level SEPs, Supplemental Environmental Programs. Those funds come from here, the local communities, where you have individuals who are cited for creating an environmental hazard within the community. What this bill is asking for is that 50% of those funds stay within the community in which they are assessed. Currently, those fines go into a general fund and become available to communities throughout the state of California. We believe that if a fine is assessed due to an environmental infraction in this community, that those dollars should stay in this community to ultimately be accessible to our local organizations to address the issue affiliated to our environmental needs here in this community. The overall effort of these 3 pieces of legislation, as I mentioned, are to improve the quality of life for our border regions and at the same time ensure that this region gets its fair share of resources to ultimately reinvest in this community, create economic development opportunities, but more importantly, so that we can ensure that the health and well-being of our children and our families is looked after. I am happy to represent this area. I'm happy that we have great collaboration with our partners in Mexico. The investments and efforts that they've made already to addressing the New River issue is applaudable. Now it's our turn to increase our efforts to ensure that we can take care of the problem with the New River. As I mentioned, the water quality is a problem that we will continue to address. Getting our hands on resources is ultimately the goal of AB 965. 1059, we want to make sure that we are quantifying the impacts of air quality problems that come from living close to the border. Currently, we do not have the systems and mechanisms in place. This bill will accomplish that, to also be able to obtain the resources necessary to mitigate those problems. And lastly, 1071 will create an opportunity for local communities and organizations, as the ones I mentioned, to be able to also receive the resources coming from infractions created by environmental individuals who have caused environmental hazards here within the region. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I do think that we have the mayor of Calexico, before we get into questions, that would like to say a few words. I welcome Mr. John Moreno.